China has called for restraints after the U.S. announced that it is dispatching a Navy strike group to the Korean Peninsula amid tensions with North Korea.
We are paying close attention to the development of the situation on the peninsula. Under the current situation, we think all relevant sides should exercise restraint and avoid actions that could aggravate tension.
China's special envoy for the Korean Peninsula has held talks with his South Korean counterpart over the situation in the region. After the meeting, the South Korean envoy said the two sides agreed to adopt strong additional measures in case of fresh nuclear or intercontinental ballistic missile tests by the North. The U.S. has sent one of its aircraft carriers to the Korean Peninsula in a show of force against what Washington calls Pyongyang's reckless nuclear weapons program. Jason Unruhe is a political commentator and analyst joining us from Ontario. So basically, just to cut the fluff out since we have little time, do you think that the U.S. is on its way to attack North Korea, or by some accounts, many news outlets saying that the recommendations that he's getting is to assassinate the president, Kim Jong-un?
I would, if you had asked me this several days ago, I would have said that it's unlikely that they would attack, but then the unlikely against Syria took place, and that certainly brings into question the patience that the United States has with its policy towards the DPRK. As we've seen from the past, the whole policy of waiting things out to try to take down the country using other means, particularly sanctions and whatnot, to try to destabilize the government and take it down, haven't worked. But this new measure of wanting to, decapitate the leadership of the DPRK is something that they're hoping will work, because their previous policies have not been successful thus far, and a direct military invasion would almost certainly end with a nuclear war. The hope is that with the assassination of the leader, that the country would then proceed to fall apart, which they had failed to do previously with outright destabilization efforts. But as to whether or not the United States is actually going to strike the DPRK, it's unknown now, given the unstable manner in which they've been carrying out their foreign policy just recently.
Finally, quickly, if the path that the U.S. is taking is to strike the DPRK in one way or another, doesn't that mean then that really North Korea is out of the control of China's hands, that China has not been able to keep up their process of maintaining them?
Well, China certainly has some influence over the DPRK, but the DPRK has always been very adamant about their right to self-defense and their right to determine their own destiny, free from imperialism. China has wielded a very minimal amount of influence over the country in the several decades following the Korean War. The best China can do is try to incentivize the DPRK to act in a way that would be beneficial towards political stability in the region. But I don't place much in the way of hope of that happening, considering the DPRK has focused so much on their own right to self-determination, even going so far as using nuclear weapons to try to preserve that.
Thank you for that. We appreciate it. That is Jason Unruhe, political commentator and analyst from Ontario.